You ever have those moments where it's like, how did I get here? And I wondered if anyone knew if you could like OD on rescue remedy. Is that possible? Been downing that stuff all day. Yeah, so I've been coming to IMCW now for the last 15 years, and I have to actually thank my friend Joanne for introducing me to this community. We were all facing that way back in the day, and there was probably only 75 to 100 people here. So I have deep gratitude and appreciation for our teacher, Tara, for entrusting me with this class tonight. I feel like mom's on vacation and we're going to have a keg party or something, right? Well, this is probably going to be one of the wackiest Dharma talks you'll ever hear in this church. So in honor of my dear teacher, I just want to pay homage to her through this song. A long, long time ago, I can still remember how my thoughts would make me cry. And I knew when I took a glance at Tara Brach, I'd have a chance of maybe being happy for a while. 'Cause her compassion makes hearts quiver with every Dharma talk she delivers. With bad news on our doorsteps, how can we take one more step? And when it's time to heed the call and radically accept what's to befall, you ain't gonna find it in some shopping mall. True refuge, no need to stall. So bye-bye, false refuge, bye-bye. No more donuts or heartbreaking, ain't no place left to hide. Got dharmic skills, no need to bump up my pride. Tara's wisdom is a powerful guide. Tara's wisdom is a powerful guide. Well, she wrote a book on love to trust ourselves beyond and above. Can you find your breath again? Does your body feel much more than whole? Has sitting saved your mortal soul? And I can teach you how to walk real slow. 'Cause you know mindfulness is the way to save us from our everyday. So just kick off your shoes before entering the hall, dude. That was a lonely drop in the ocean wave. True refuge, save this ducat slave. I found freedom thanks to rain. We can begin again. And we were singing bye-bye, false refuge, bye-bye. No more donuts or heartbreaking, ain't no place left to hide. Got dharmic skills, no need to bump up my pride. Tara's wisdom is a powerful guide. Tara's wisdom is a powerful guide. So bye-bye, false refuge, bye-bye. No more donuts or heartbreaking, ain't no place left to hide. Got dharmic skills, no need to bump up my pride. Tara's wisdom is a powerful guide. You're very kind. You know, I usually will sing these songs a cappella when I've done them here in the past, and Kristen's like, it'd be really easy to like do this with you, and so just really, really grateful. And it's been funny because in our rehearsals, like I know nothing about music. I just listen to the radio and I sing songs, and I'm, you know, like we'll do these Dharma spoof songs and things, and so we'll go in this back and forth about like harmony and melody, and I'm just like, you know, I'm just going to sing, and then you just do whatever you do over there. And so it's just an example of letting go. So tonight, you know, I can't write a Dharma talk to save my life. I really can't, I try, I Google things, I research things, and it gets pretty like academic and heady to me, and then I feel totally disconnected from what I'm sharing, and so I have no idea where this is going to go, with the exception that I told Kristin we're going to sing 4 songs tonight, and Tara said if it makes you any more comfortable, you can sing your whole Dharma talk. Yep. I think my battery, oh, there it is. Okay, never mind. So, let's see. I guess I kind of want to share a little bit of my own personal journey and how the Dharma has really impacted that. So I was born July 23rd, 1964. So I'm going to be 49 years old this year. And I was born in Manila in the Philippines. And when the U.S. government gave the Philippines their independence, my father enlisted in the U.S. Navy. And he was stationed in Hawaii. And my mom and I met him there when I was about 10 months old. And she had $800 in her purse and me. And that was it. And so as I think about like my parents and all the different ways that they sacrificed and what they have given me, coming to this unknown land, knowing no one, to give their kids a better life, it really touches me deeply, and I have deepest gratitude for them. So as I was growing up, I spent the first 6 years of my life in Hawaii, and it was paradise. It was just beautiful. I have very many vivid memories of that. And something that I also remembered was that I liked other little girls. And I thought, wow, that's interesting. And then I also thought, like, wow, I actually don't want to be a little girl. Like, all these different things started pointing in this direction where, I'd rather ride a big wheel than play with a doll, or I would, like, sharpen popsicle sticks on the sidewalk and stab little girls with them, or, it's like, wow, that's not very, like, little girl behavior. And I really, like, kind of picked up that there was something not quite right. There was something that wasn't, like, okay. Because from what I saw around me, that wasn't what was happening. And so for the message that I told myself at that age was basically, if anyone ever knew who you really were, no one will ever love you or accept you. So you got to figure out, like, how to survive having this big secret. So what I decided to do was just be the kindest, most generous, most loving, most caring person that I could be, to my own detriment. And what that means is that I became whoever you wanted me to be, So it was like, for my parents, I was like the straight A student. I was the great athlete. I never drank, drugged, smoked, had sex, nothing. I did nothing. That's why I have such a hard time at these teen retreats. I'm like, what are you experiencing? And you're like, why are you having all this stuff going on? It's so chill when I was a kid. And it was really like a matter of survival. And that carried into like my relationships, as I became an adult. And I settled, for whoever would love me. And it didn't matter, if there was any attraction or any interest. It was like, oh, I got to hold on to that because that might be it. That might be all that I'll ever have. And through a series of serial monogamous and not so monogamous relationships, this was before I found the Dharma, of course, and taken the precepts, I really was like, wow, the common denominator in all these failed relationships is me. So I decided to stop and actually allow myself to feel, this sense of suffering that I was feeling deep inside, because I felt like something outside of myself needed to complete me. And until I found that, I was not going to be okay. And so it leads to like what the first noble truth is, right? That life is suffering, or sometimes how I like to teach it to the teens is like that life sucks. And so to really allow myself to feel that loneliness, that sense of like being unlovable or unacceptable or not worthy of being in a relationship, just created a lot of suffering. And it was really the needing to fully embrace that suffering and fully get it. Because a lot of times, like, I think that we live our lives in this image of, like, the baseline of our lives is suffering. But, actually it should be down here, like peace, and calm and equanimity. But we live our lives here in this culture. And then we just go up from that. And so, so I wrote this next song to really address how sometimes it's just really hard for us to let go of our suffering. Dooka dooka down, doobie doo down down. Dooka dooka down, doobie doo down down. Dooka dooka down, doobie doo down down. Waking up is hard to do. Don't take my pain away from me. Let me live my life in misery. 'Cause if it goes, then I'll be blue. 'Cause waking up is hard to do. I love it when my mind is tight. And it keeps me up through the night. Come on, Buddha, it's just you. 'Cause waking up is hard to do.
They say that waking up is hard to do.
Why just one arrow when there can be two?
Don't say my suffering can't end.
Instead of waking up, I wanna be a couch potato again. I beg of you, just let me cry. Wise effort, I don't wanna try. Come on, Buddha, get a clue. 'Cause waking up is hard to do. Doobie doo down down. Dooka dooka down, doobie doo down down. Dooka dooka down, doobie doo down down. Waking up is hard to do. Keep clapping, we have 45 minutes. We gotta sing slower, dude. Okay. So I decided that I needed to stop. I needed to stop this pattern of getting into these relationships that weren't serving me or them anymore. And so I decided to do a crazy thing, which was ride my bike 450 miles from Montreal, Canada to Portland, Maine to raise money for an AIDS vaccine. And so I trained for 6 months. And I tell you, training almost like every day for 3 to 4 hours a day, you really wouldn't want to be in a relationship, biking and stuff. So I did it. I raised $15,000. Did this ride, and I was like committed to ride every mile of that ride. And I refused to get on the sag wagon. And there was this one day where I noticed right after lunch, everybody was getting on the wagon. And I was like, well, what's happening? Like, what? The weather's beautiful. And so I looked on my altitude map, and it was like, oh, there's like a 7-mile hill up ahead. We were biking through the Green Mountains of Vermont. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do it. And I biked horizontally up that hill with one other person. And we got to the hill, and it's just like a lot of life, right? It's like a lot of up, and then when you go down, it takes like 2 seconds. And so it speaks to the impermanence of the joy of that downhill. And so what I realized after that ride was that, just focusing on myself, taking care of myself, really allowed me to get that, I really need to find that joy, that happiness, that peace in me. That anything external to me will not ever fill that hole. never gives me really what I want. And so, I was still a little hurt from this relationship that I had ended. And does anyone here ever have like monk fantasies? Like, oh, if I just like escape into a monastery, my life will be so much better because it'll be quiet, and everybody will wear the same thing, so you can't like compare, who's got cool stuff on. And so, I was playing that out. It's like, I think I did a lot of relationships. I'm now peaceful. I can enter the monastery. And so then I thought, what is actually the reality of being in a spiritual community? And so I wrote this song to talk about monk reality. Another Saturday night and I ain't got a nata. I got some Dharma, but I can't get laid. All I want is to reach nirvana. I'm in an awful way. Became a monk a month ago. Ain't seen a lot of girls since then. If I can squelch my desire, put out my inner fire, then I can totally be zen. Ooh la, another Saturday night, and I ain't got a nata. I got some Dharma, but I can't get laid. How I wish I could reach nirvana. I'm in an awful way. Another Riku told me he had a practice that worked just fine. Instead of being my deliverance, I encountered every hindrance. I think I'm gonna lose my mind. Ooh la, another Saturday night, and I ain't got a nata. I got some Dharma, but I can't get laid. How I wish I can reach nirvana. I'm in an awful way. It's hard on a bhikkhu when working with a don't know mind. If I don't find me a jhana to help me raise more dana, I think I'm gonna be unkind. Ooh la, another Saturday night, and I ain't got a nata. I got some dana, but I can't get laid. How I wish I could reach nirvana. I'm in an awful way. Another Saturday night, and I ain't got a nata. I got some dana, but I can't get laid. How I wish I can reach nirvana. I'm in an awful way. So obviously I didn't make it to the monastery. But I was totally cool. I was like, if I get in a relationship, great. If I don't end up in a relationship, that's great too. So I was at a dentist's office one day, and I was just thumbing through the Washington Blade, which is the gay paper. And it was back in the day when personal ads were in the paper. And I just am curious about how people like to put themselves out. So I stumbled upon this ad, and because my partner's here, I will not share what the ad said. But I was like, you know what? Maybe one more fling before the monastery. And so I answered the ad, and we met for dinner. And I recognized her from somewhere. And I was like, do I know you? You look really familiar to me. And she said, I don't think so. So we got to talking. We both found out that we both meditated. And she said, where do you meditate? And I said, I meditated IMCW in Bethesda. And she's like, I don't belong to that Sangha, but I was on a New Year's retreat with them a year ago. And I was like, ding, ding, ding. That's where I knew her from, because I was on that same retreat, and she was my Vipassana romance at that retreat. And unfortunately, I didn't write a Lady Gaga version of Vipassana romance tonight. But I didn't tell her, that was what was happening, because I had to check her out, right? And so we had the whole evening together, and it was like, wow, this is a really cool person. And so at the very end of our date, she asked how it went, and I said, well, actually, I had a really big crush on you on that meditation retreat a year ago. and we've been together ever since. It'll be 11 years, and we've been... and we've been legally married in D.C. for 3. And it was funny because I never imagined myself in a long-term relationship. I like variety. And but, and I also thought, I felt like I was going to be in prison. It was like, you're married, cha-chunk, and it was like all over. But what I've found, in this relationship with Wendy is that I've been the most myself that I've ever been with anyone, fully expressed, fully myself. Like I said earlier, I was born July 23rd, so I'm right on the cusp of Cancer and Leo. And Wendy compassionately says, when you're nice, you're a Cancer. When you're an asshole, you're a Leo. and I'll own that. And so, but we make it work, and I think the reason why we make it work is what we're both committed to waking up. And we're both committed to working on ourselves, and taking responsibility for what is ours. We've taken a lot of different communication courses like nonviolent communication and respectful confrontation. And I remember when we first started taking our NVC classes together, I don't know how many of you are familiar with nonviolent communication, but there's like these animal puppets that they use, like the giraffe and the jackal, to kind of represent, how you are supposed to be speaking and not speaking. And at one of the workshops, I bought a pair of those giraffe ears. And so that usually will break a fight, when I'll put the ears on and how can you be angry at a little Asian person with giraffe ears? Yeah. So I'll go from that to this community, with IMCW. When I first came to the Sangha, it was in the day where outside of the Buddha who was sitting next to Tara, I was the only person of color in the room. And I was also, at that time, the youngest person in the room. Definitely not that anymore. And it's so great to have young people here, and it's a joy in my life to work with these teenagers at these teen retreats. And there's been ups and downs that I've had with this community, and what I've found is no matter where you go, you're going to be with other human beings. And it really is about, this practice of acceptance and compassion and patience and love and respect and trust, and ultimately meeting each other where we are, And so it's been this real blessing, and there's so many people in this room, and I look around that I just so deeply, deeply love and cherish. And I find, for me, my approach to the Dharma, I'm not a huge reader. I had a lot of shame around the fact that I didn't like to read books. I'm not that kind of learner. I like to experience things. I like to do things. I like to have, exchanges with people. So last year, I actually came out as a non-reader, and I was so liberated by that. It was more than coming out as queer, It was like, oh my God, I don't read, yay. And so one of my teachers from several years ago is actually a transgendered woman named Katriona Reed, who's at the Manzanita Village in Southern California. And when I can't tell you, when I Googled, different things and found that there was another genderqueer teacher in the world, it was like, wow, it's really huge. It was really important to feel myself reflected somehow in that respect. And one of the key quotes or teachings that Katriona gave me was to find the Dharma in everything. And as you can see, I've found the Dharma a lot in these songs. But one of the places I find the Dharma is actually Facebook. Facebook is a huge resource of Dharma for me. And there was this great picture on Facebook today that I shared that was this picture of this beautiful, moon shining over this clear lake. And the heading was, do no harm, and in parentheses, take no shit. And I think that's a really important thing, because I think what we can get caught up in a lot when we are spiritual people is this sense like we can't be bad. Like we can't have like these angry or frustrated or disappointed or whatever feelings, right? It's not spiritual. And that stuff just bothers me a lot. And I've paid a lot of money to deal with that stuff. So I'm going to capitalize on it. And so what I found, and especially through my dear friend Joe Weston's respectful confrontation work, is that the reason why, we don't like to confront is because it's really uncomfortable to do that, right? And to me, this practice is all about sitting in discomfort. The more we can actually allow ourselves, like, if you're here to, like, bliss out and be peaceful and happy all the time, it's like, power to you. That's not been my experience. So it really is about, like, how can I, like, ride these waves of wackiness and craziness and frustration and anger and fear and jealousy and envy and, like, not lose myself. And so it really is about being able to have that and also being empowered and knowing that we actually have a lot of personal power in our practice. It requires a huge level of courage and strength and perseverance to do this path. And also, too, and something I've been reflecting on a lot, is it also requires a huge level of willingness and humility. There are times when I'm like feeling justified in my anger or, justified in my blaming somebody. And when I can actually get like, wow, that doesn't feel good, and it's not it doesn't really align with my aspiration to have an open heart. And as Joe, beautifully teaches, it's like we don't walk around with a heart like wide open all the time. That's just crazy, especially like in DC. And so it really is about like what he calls like upgrading, from a on and off switch to like a dimmer switch, where the intention can be that of like, I'm going to have my heart open, but for you today it's going to be like 3%, or for you over here it's going to be about 15%, and for you over there I just love you up, And so to really like be aware of kind of what's happening and being able to express feelings and needs. How many people got taught in school like how to feel or how to identify, what we're feeling? I think I have like 3 emotions: happy, sad, and angry. And so to be able to like find the nuances of like all these different feelings, but also to be able to express that, we have needs, we're human beings, And I often thought like, well, if I say that I need love, or I need respect, or I need consideration, then I'm being too needy, or I'm being, high maintenance or something. And it's not true, And I think what we often struggle with in our lives is like we get into relationships, be it in our families or with our friends or with intimate partners, where we don't have any agreements about how we're going to be together, We don't even have agreements about how we're going to settle conflict or difficulty, or that we're going to be in this place where, if I'm upsetting you, giving that person permission to say something to me about it, but say so in a way that, hopefully I can hear that. And also, can I be willing and humble enough to like receive, that sort of feedback? And so, so going back to the first thing I said around do no harm, take no shit, it's like, you don't have to, act out or any of that kind of stuff. You just gotta, center down and figure out, what's going on and how to take care of yourselves from that place. Another great quote I found on Facebook this week was from Ajahn Chah. Ajahn Chah is like one of my favorite teachers because he was a teacher who was not big into like writing Dharma talks. He was, when he would have in the evening, all his monks would gather around, and he would just look around and then point to somebody and said, "You're up." Give a 2-hour Dharma talk. And so I'm glad he's not around anymore. But, but glad he was. Glad he was. So this is a quote that I found from him, and he writes, "Do not try to become anything. Do not make yourself into anything. Do not be a meditator. Do not become enlightened. When you sit, let it be. What you walk, let it be. Grasp at nothing. Resist nothing. If you haven't wept deeply, you haven't begun to meditate." So, to me that speaks of what I found in practicing and being on retreats for 15 years in our tradition, is that, we often are together in silence. We talk about, wise action and wise speech and all that, wise effort, but we don't get to actually really practice it so much unless you're like in a smaller KM group or you actively seek that out. And so I just really feel that it's really important to know that there's this other video I saw that the person was talking about, it was Muji, he was talking about you're not living life, you are life. It's coming through you. We are all vehicles of this preciousness that we call life. And to find that everywhere. My sweet friend Aisha, 6 in the morning, she's already heading off to work. And she writes me these little texts that are really sweet, about how she's feeling that day and how she's integrating the Dharma into her life. And the other day when it was raining, she started a little verse of "Raindrops Keep Falling on Your Head." And I was like, wow, I haven't heard that song in a really long time. So then I continued the verse on the text. And then I just started listening, singing the song, and I'm like, you know what? That song has the 4 Noble Truths in it. Did you realize that? Anybody ever? Well, let me show you. So, you guys know what the 4 Noble Truths, right? Life sucks. Life sucks because we want things to be other than they are. There is a way out, and here is the way, the Eightfold Path. So, raindrops keep falling on my head. First Noble Truth. Just like the guy whose feet are too big for his bed, nothing seems to fit. Those raindrops are falling on my head. They keep falling. Second Noble Truth. So I just did me some talking to the sun, 'cause I didn't feel really like the way he got things done. Sleeping on the job, those raindrops are falling on my head, they keep falling. Third Noble Truth. But there's one thing I know, the blues they send to meet me won't defeat me. It won't be long till happiness steps up to greet me. Da-dun-dun, da-dun-dun. Fourth Noble Truth, raindrops keep falling on my head. But that doesn't mean my eyes will soon be turning red. Crying's not for me, thus I'm never gonna stop the rain by complaining. Because I'm free, nothing's worrying me. You guys are so kind. I don't think I'm sounding very good tonight, but thanks for hanging in there. So thank you, Aisha. Row, row, row your boats like that, too. I won't go into that one because, we'll get into a little kumbaya moment and it'll just get out of hand. So, my dearest favorite teachers is Eric Bolvig. He's one of the first queer Dharma teachers I had ever encountered. And at the end of one retreat, something really powerful that Eric said was, if there's anything you're going to take from this retreat, it's these 2 things. Sit every day and notice when you're suffering. It's powerful. you know? Oftentimes, we go through our lives, we wake up in the morning, we're in a particular mood, right? And then we think, oh, I'm grumpy. It's going to be an awful day. And that's how we live into our days. We take this barometer of our feeling in the morning, and then we live into that. Why do we do that? It's so conditioned in us to just live, and be taken, by the collar, by life. That's what makes us powerful, is that, we don't have to do that. We don't have to choose that. My partner Wendy went to this acupuncture school that, was really great. And she would have these little Post-it notes in our medicine cabinet all the time of reminders of little practices that she would do. And so one of them was design your mood, And so it's well, take a look at your day, reflect on your day, and then create a mood that will actually help you fulfill that day in a positive way or in a constructive way. So to not let life drag us around, but to be open to it and act skillfully accordingly. One of my favorite Dharma teachers in finding the Dharma in everything is my therapist. And one day, after maybe 6 years in therapy, she said, I'm at the tip of the iceberg. I'm like, oh, God. I need to win the lottery. I said, I'm really getting that this whole thing is really not about being happy, is it? And she's like, well, what do you think it is? And I said, I think it's about being fully alive. And she said, you know what, La? Being fully alive is way better than being happy. And that was a really pivotal moment, where I just finally got, wow, I don't have to try so hard. I don't have to expect. I am a Leo born in the year of the dragon. I'm a 1 on the Enneagram. I'm a INFJ. It's everything's gotta be perfect, in my world. And I just have so much suffering when I don't meet my own expectations, and especially when other people don't either. And living with someone is really good practice for that. And Wendy's been great, and we have this thing where I just asked her one day, I said, sweetie, why don't you do things the way I do things? And she said, well, because I don't care. And I'm like, okay, makes sense. And so when I want her to do something, I say, sweetie, what would it look like if you cared? Well, let's just play. Let's just see what that would look like. So, another one of my favorite teachings from the Buddha is that of from the Dhammapada. It's the first teaching, the Dhammapada. Because we are what we think. All that we are arises with our thoughts. With our thoughts, we make the world. It's really great to reflect on that, because notice the thoughts that go through your head, and if we actually believed them and manifested them, some of them would be awesome and inspiring, and a lot of them too would be destructive and painful. And so just an invitation to really be a guardian of your mind, to not allow the mind to just take off and run you ragged. It's what it does. It just is its nature, It just is its job. And our job, as human beings, is to be able to notice that and switch that around. What I love about Buddhist teachings is that it's so real, painfully real, right? It's just kind of here it is. And, the story about the Buddha when he got enlightened, trying to decide whether or not he wanted to share the teachings. He was I don't know, it's pretty intense out there. I don't know if they're going to be able to get it. I imagine him in his little hut looking out and going, never mind. And luckily, somebody talked him into continuing to teach, saying that there are going to be a lot of people with dust in their eyes, And there are going to be some people with a little dust in their eyes, and it'll be worth it. And so for 2,600 years, just an immense amount of gratitude to all the people that have carried down these teachings so that we can be free. So one of my favorite teachings is that of the 5 remembrances. It's always intense, sometimes we'll share this with the teens, and it's like, oh, do we want to tell them that? They're such a downer. But they're real, and for those of you who don't know what they are, they go, I am of the nature to grow old. There is no escape to growing old. I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape having ill health. I am of the nature to die. There is no escape to death. All that is dear to me and everyone I love have the nature to change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. My deeds are my closest companions. I am the beneficiary of my deeds. My deeds are the ground on which I stand. So it's this really jolt of reality. It's we're going to get old, we're going to get sick, and we're going to die. Everyone we love is going to experience all those as well. And what we choose to do in this lifetime is our karma. We're going to be heir to it. And also, the rest of the world, everyone you encounter, this earth will be heir to it. So, what to me happens is that, life's too short, life's too precious, and so how are we choosing to live it in each moment, in each day? Because it matters, I think we're under this illusion sometimes that we have, I'm going to be 49, it's I probably have a good 20, 30 years maybe. I often tell Wendy, it's when we run out of money, we'll die. She doesn't like that idea very much. But, so it really, in this past year, I've had, 2 or 3 really dear friends at a very young age. And it's this wake-up call, right? To really get, we don't have a lot of time. And so what are we doing with the time that we have? All right, I'm running out of steam. You're going to be ending class early. But before I leave you, we have one more song, which for me actually encompasses the entire Dharma. So if you're a non-reader, you just got to practice this song, and you'll be free. So you ever wonder what Johnny Cash would have been like as a Dharma teacher? Well, wonder no more. I hear those thoughts coming round the bend. I ain't felt such suffering since I don't know when. And I'm stuck in my mind's prison, and I just can't get free. Well, those thoughts keep coming, and that's what tortures me. So here we are in Sangha for some refuge and relief from our crazy busy lives and the boss that gives us grief. As we watch our minds wander, thoughts going to and fro. Amazing what can happen when we can finally let go. The practice makes you stronger, at least that's what we say. Build you up some courage to learn how to stay. And I trust that with more practice of love and compassion, that an open heart regardless can actually be fun. Take it, Kristin. Well, may you all be happy. May you all know peace. Be free from suffering, the ultimate release. And may the merit of your practice wake up all beings now. As all things are impermanent, I end with a heartfelt bow. Thank you. Thank you so much. Very sweet. And I just want to thank my buddy Kristin here on guitar, Kristin Barker. If you want to hear some Dharma around white privilege or the earth, this is your person right here. So, okay, I'm done. Thanks for coming. I mean, it's like 50 minutes. Longest Dharma talk I've ever given. Thank you.